The lightning had already burned my eyes blind when High Priest Pagani Thorn told 3,000 people that the gods had found me guilty. Then the bolt finished cooking me. My teeth cracked. My tongue turned to ash. Every muscle locked so hard that my spine lifted off the execution stone. I smelled burned meat for half a second before I realized it was me. The crowd cheered. My heart burst. I was dead for 11 minutes. When I opened my eyes again, Pagani was still talking. "Divine judgment is final," he declared, beneath the golden statue of Valor, god of storms. I sat up. A woman in the front row screamed. 3,000 faces turned toward the corpse that had forgotten to stay dead. My skin was black and split. Fresh skin pushed underneath it. Smoke rose from my chest. A huge knight in white gold armor took one step toward me. Aventador Rook, even to everyone who did not enjoy wasting breath. His hand closed around his spear. "That," I said, coughing smoke, "was unpleasant." Pagani stopped smiling. I had been sentenced for stealing a list of so-called blessed transfers. They were prisoners, hidden under the temple. I had seen the cells myself. Apparently that offended heaven. Pagani pointed at me. "Strike him again." The statue opened its stone eyes. Blue light swallowed the square. The second bolt hit hard enough to melt the iron rings around my wrists. I flinched. Nothing else happened. Lightning crawled over my shoulders, down my arms, and between my fingers. The execution stone turned red beneath my feet and began to sag. I stayed standing. I looked at Pagani. Was that supposed to be stronger? Nobody cheered this time. Near the temple steps, an archivist in black robes had gone still. Carrera Selen stared at the melted stone beneath me, where a black carved mark had appeared inside the execution platform. Pagani saw her looking. Fear hit his face. "Steal," he shouted. "Destroy the heart." Avon moved. His holy spear punched through my chest, through my heart, and out between my shoulder blades. Blood filled my mouth. My legs failed. Avon caught me before I hit the stone. "Stay down," he said quietly. My heart stopped. Darkness took me again. This time I was dead for maybe 20 seconds. I woke with the spear still through me. Avon's eyes widened. Pagani screamed. Again! Avon ripped the spear free. The hole in my chest closed while everyone watched. He thrust again.
Clang.
The spear point hit my chest and bent sideways. Avon's wrist snapped from the force. I touched the red mark over my heart. The spear had killed me once. It did not get a second chance. The lightning had lost its grip on me too. That one was worse, I told Avon. Pagani backed away. "Seal the square." Golden gates slammed shut. 4 storm pillars rose from the quarters. Carrera's face went pale. "That is a battlefield cage." Pagani slammed both hands onto the altar. Lightning fell everywhere. The first strike hit one of his own guards. The man's armor burst open. His left arm spun across the stones and landed beside a screaming family. A second bolt tore through the crowd benches. Stone exploded. People ran for the closed gates. I ran toward her. A bolt hit me in the back. Nothing. Then I felt the next strike before it arrived. Not just the heat, the pull. The storm was trying to pass through me. I reached for it. The lightning bent. It curled into my raised hand and wrapped around my forearm. Pagani forgot how to breathe. "Veyron," Carrera shouted, pointing at the trapped girl. Right. I threw my arm toward the giant statue of Valor. The storm followed. The god's face exploded. Golden stone rained across the square. The statue split from neck to waist, and a black tablet dropped from inside its chest. Carrera ran to it through the dust. She read one line. Then all the color left her face. "Veyron. It says, when the Nameless One returns, do not kill him." The square went dead silent. Above us, the statue's remaining eye changed from stone to living blue light. The sky darkened. A voice entered my head so deeply that my teeth vibrated. Stop. Not Pagani, not Avon. The god of storms had noticed me. After 2 executions, a spear through the heart, 1 battlefield weapon, and his own statue losing its face, heaven had finally decided conversation might be useful. I looked into the living eye. "Now you want to talk?" Thunder rolled above the city. The eye narrowed. Pagani fell to his knees. Half the crowd did the same. I stayed standing. That seemed to upset everyone equally. "Kneel," Pagani screamed. "I already died twice for your ceremony. I think I've contributed enough." Avon's good hand tightened around the broken shaft of his spear. For the first time, Avon obeyed the god instead of Pagani. The voice pressed into my skull again. "Do not expose yourself to another law." I stared upward. That was not a threat. It was a warning. which meant the god knew what was happening to me. And Pagani had known enough to hide a tablet inside the god's own statue. Carrera grabbed my burned wrist. We need to leave. The god just told me not to die again. Yes, I noticed. I would like to study that sentence from somewhere that is not currently full of soldiers. Avon stepped between us and the nearest gate. His broken wrist hung at a bad angle, but his voice stayed calm. Veyron Kade, by order of the temple, you are to be taken alive. Pagani spun toward him. Avon looked back. The god said stop. I am the high priest of this city, and the god is the god. For the first time that morning, someone had found a problem more awkward than me. Carrera leaned close enough that I felt her breath near my ear. West Service Gate, 30 steps behind the altar. Lightning Ward. That sounds inconvenient. For you? No. Right. I grabbed her hand and ran. Temple soldiers closed around us. The first man thrust a spear at Carrera. I stepped in front of it. The point struck my ribs and folded like wet tin. The soldier stared at his weapon. I stared at him. You should probably switch jobs. He did. Immediately. He dropped the spear and ran. We crossed the altar as Pagani screamed orders behind us. A storm rod fired from the wall. I put my shoulder in front of Carrera and took the bolt. Blue light wrapped around me. Carrera did not even slow down. You are becoming very annoying to execute, she said. That may be the nicest thing anyone has said to me today. The west gate came into view. 3 lines of lightning ran across it like a cage. Carrera stopped. I did not. I walked straight through. The ward burst around my body. Blue sparks filled the passage. The smell of burnt stone followed us into the service street beyond. Carrera stared. You could have warned me. You told me it was safe. For you, you were holding my hand. She looked down. Carrera released me so quickly that I almost respected the speed. Then, bells began ringing across the city. Every temple tower carried the same order. Veyron Kade was alive. Veyron Kade was dangerous. Veyron Kade was to be captured. I had spent most of my life trying not to be noticed. That plan had suffered a minor setback. We cut through the market while soldiers flooded the main streets. People recognized the burned cloth around my waist, then recognized my face, then made very quick decisions about which direction they wanted to be standing. Carrera pulled me into an alley. Why were you on the prison list? I asked. I wasn't. Then why help me? I am not helping you. A crossbow bolt screamed down the alley. I turned. The bolt struck my chest, snapped, and dropped. Carrera looked at it. I am helping the evidence. The evidence appreciates it. She almost smiled. Almost. Then 6 temple hunters entered the far end of the alley. Their leader raised a sword instead of a spear. That caught my attention. A spear point had failed, because piercing me had already killed me once. Would a blade count the same? I had no idea, and the sword was already coming. Do not test that, Carrera said. I didn't say anything. Your face did. The hunters charged. I grabbed the first man's spear, bent the shaft around his body, and threw him into the second. The third had a sword. Carrera ducked behind a rain barrel while he swung at my neck. I moved back. The blade cut my shoulder instead of my throat. Blood ran down my arm. Not immune. Different enough. That answer cost less than dying, so I counted it as progress. I caught his wrist before the second swing and slammed his elbow against the wall. Bone broke. He screamed. The leader lifted a small copper tube. Carrera's eyes widened. Gas. A wagon crashed through the alley mouth before he could open it. The front wheel hit the leader first. He disappeared under the axle with a sound like wet wood breaking. The wagon skidded sideways. A broad man with a broken nose leaned over the driver's bench. Get in. Carrera blinked. Enzo? No, I stole Enzo's face because this seemed relaxing. Get in. We got in. The wagon already held 4 terrified prisoners. Enzo Marin whipped the horses forward. Behind us, the remaining hunters poured into the alley. You know him? I asked. Carrera braced herself against the wall as the wagon bounced over a curb. He used to drive temple prison carts. Used to? Enzo looked back at me. I am currently reconsidering my career path. A stormbolt hit the roof. The wood burst into flame. Enzo sighed, very strongly. The wagon shot out of the alley and onto St. Oral's Bridge. Bad choice. The bridge was straight, narrow, and crowded with people trying to flee the bells. Temple guards were already closing the far gate. Enzo saw them and swore. Hold something. What? Carrera asked. Preferably, the wagon. He pulled hard on the reins. The horses left the road. For one terrible second, I thought Enzo meant to drive us into the river. Instead, the wagon jumped onto the raised footpath along the bridge wall. One wheel climbed the stone edge. The whole cart tilted. The prisoners screamed. Carrera landed against me. I caught her around the waist before she went over the side. I had it, she said. You were halfway to the river. I had a plan. Was the plan swimming? Put me down. I did. A temple bolt struck the back of the wagon. Another passed through the canvas and buried itself in Enzo's seat beside his hip. They are using broadheads, Carrera said. That mattered. A spear had killed me through the heart. A narrow bolt had already failed against my chest. A broad cutting head might not count the same. I was learning that immortality involved an uncomfortable amount of classification. 3 riders came up behind us. One carried a storm rod. That one I understood. I climbed onto the back rail. Veyron, Carrera said, this one is safe. You do not get to say that sentence after today. The rider fired. Lightning crossed the distance in a blue line. I caught it with both hands. The force shoved me backward, but the current itself curled between my palms. The rider's face changed. I pushed. The lightning returned along the same path. It hit his storm rod. The weapon exploded. The horse kept running without him. The second rider raised a hooked chain. He threw it at Enzo. I caught that too. The hook cut my palm. Pain, not safe. I wrapped the chain around my arm anyway, and pulled. The rider came out of his saddle, hit the bridge wall chest first, and folded over it. He did not get back up. The third rider saw what happened and slowed. Reasonable man. Then the far gate closed. 2 iron doors slammed together across the bridge. Enzo did not slow down. You know that is a wall, I said. I noticed. Your plan? You. That was not enough information. The wagon thundered toward the gate. Blue ward lines came alive across the iron. Carrera grabbed the side rail. Enzo. You said lightning cannot hurt him. That does not make him a battering ram. Enzo looked back at me. Can you be a battering ram? I considered the gate. Probably once. Carrera made a sound that contained several future arguments. I jumped from the wagon. The ward hit me first. Lightning wrapped around my body and disappeared into my hands. Then I hit the gate shoulder first. The impact nearly broke me. I was not immune to iron doors. Important discovery. But the storm ward powering the lock was another matter. I felt it running through the metal. I pulled. Every blue line on the gate rushed into my arms. The lock went dead. The doors opened 2 inches from the force of my body. Enzo's wagon hit them a heartbeat later. The doors flew apart. I rolled under the front axle, somehow missed both wheels, and came up behind the wagon with my shoulder screaming. Enzo leaned back from the driver's bench. Worked. Your standards are dangerous. You are alive. That is becoming a weak measurement. I grabbed the rear rail and pulled myself aboard. Carrera caught my arm. Her eyes dropped to my shoulder. Blood soaked through the borrowed cloth. You are hurt. I gathered that. She tore a strip from the inside of her archive robe and tied it around the cut. Her hands were steady, even while the wagon bounced beneath us. Lightning, spear, maybe bolts, she said. Not blades, not blunt force. Yet. She tightened the knot hard enough to hurt. That word is why I'm considering leaving you in the river. I looked at her. She was close, angry. Focused. A loose strand of auburn hair brushed my cheek as she leaned over the wound. You would lose the evidence, I said. Her eyes met mine. Exactly. Then a temple horn sounded behind us. Carrera moved away, the far bridge filled with white gold uniforms. Enzo drove us downhill toward the river district. They will know every safe road, Carrera said. He turned the wagon into a laundry yard. Sheets exploded around us. A woman shouted something about her washing. Enzo shouted, Temple emergency. That does not pay for sheets, she shouted back. Send the bill to Pagani. We burst through the opposite fence, with 3 white sheets hanging from the wagon like defeated flags. One of the rescued prisoners started laughing. It spread to another. Not because anything was funny enough to deserve it. Because they had spent days in temple cells, and were suddenly flying through a laundry yard, behind a man who had returned from execution. Sometimes, panic needed somewhere else to go. Enzo looked back at them and grinned. There, better. That was when I understood why prisoners trusted Enzo. He never gave speeches about courage. He just kept driving until fear had to catch up. A narrow street opened ahead. At the end stood the river storehouse. Enzo pointed. 5 minutes inside. We changed carts, split the prisoners, then crossed by boat. Carrera looked at the temple smoke behind us. Pagani will search the river. Eventually. How eventually? Hopefully 6 minutes. You said we have 5. See? Planning. We reached the river district with half the city behind us. Enzo drove the wagon through the doors of an old grain storehouse and jumped down before the wheels stopped moving. Inside. Quick. The prisoners stumbled out. Carrera helped an older woman. I grabbed the last man before his legs gave out. Enzo barred the door. My brother is still in the temple infirmary, he said. If this gets worse, I need him out. I think we passed worse 10 minutes ago. No. That was public worse. Private worse is usually more creative. He was right. A glass jar crashed through the storehouse window. Oil spread across the floor. A second jar followed, then a third. Carrera's face went flat. Fire. The walls ignited. Pagani had stopped pretending he wanted me alive. Smoke filled the rafters fast. The prisoners panicked. Enzo kicked open a side door and started pushing them toward the river. Move, everyone out. I grabbed Carrera. Go with them. What are you doing? A burning beam dropped behind us and blocked the side passage. The main doors were already covered in flame. Finding out if Pagani has another bad idea. Veyron, go. She stared at me for 1 second too long. The roof came down. A beam the width of my chest struck my back and drove me face first into the floor. My left leg snapped. Flames rolled over the timber. I tried to push it off, could not. Heat took my hair first, then skin, then breath. Being burned alive was slower than lightning. That made it worse. I screamed until my lungs were too damaged to make sound. The last thing I saw was orange light chewing through the floorboards beside my face. Then nothing. Death was becoming familiar. I did not like that. I woke under ash. Fire covered me. My body rebuilt itself while I watched. The beams still lay across my back. I pushed. It rolled away. Flames wrapped around my arm. No pain. I stood. The whole storehouse was burning around me, and the fire felt wrong. Not cold, not harmless exactly. More like it had forgotten what it was supposed to do to me. I walked through it. Outside, Enzo was dragging buckets from the river, while Carrera counted prisoners. Both stopped when I came through the wall of flame. I had no clothes left. Carrera looked at my face, then very firmly kept looking at my face. Enzo took off his coat and threw it at me. Please, for the continued health of everyone nearby. I caught it. You seem more bothered by this than the resurrection. I can only process one miracle at a time. A scream came from inside. One prisoner had not made it out. I turned back toward the burning doorway. Carrera caught my arm. The roof is falling. It already killed me. That is not a normal sentence. I went in anyway. This time the fire moved around me. I did not understand how. I reached into the hottest part of it and pulled my hands apart. The flames split. A clear path opened through the burning room. The trapped prisoner crawled toward me. I carried him outside while the fire closed behind us. Enzo stared at the flames, then at me. So the lightning doesn't hurt you. Spears don't hurt you. Fire doesn't hurt you? Correct. Anything else? I am trying not to make the list too quickly. Carrera's expression sharpened. No. She stepped close, lifted my arm, and looked at the skin that had just regenerated. Her fingers were warm against my wrist. The lightning killed you first, then it failed. The fire killed you first, then it failed. I watched her face. She looked excited and terrified. Kill, she said softly. Return. Refusal. The word fit. Something killed me. I came back. Then whatever rule had killed me lost the right to do it the same way again. Enzo folded his arms. I hate this theory. Why? Because it means the easiest way to make you stronger is horrifying. I looked back at the burning storehouse. Pagani seems committed to helping. We left the storehouse before Pagani could improve his generosity. Enzo took us beneath the river docks, where an old smuggler tunnel ran behind the stone supports. The air smelled like wet rope and old fish. It was still better than burned flesh. The 4 prisoners stayed with a boatman Enzo trusted. Carrera and I followed him deeper under the docks. A slim man in a white healer coat was waiting beside a lantern. Enzo stopped so fast I nearly walked into him. Senna. The healer looked at his brother, then at me, then at the coat I was wearing and the complete lack of anything under it. I had questions, Senna said. Now I have different questions. Enzo pulled him into a hug, hard enough to lift him off the ground. Senna made a tired sound into his shoulder. Still breathing, Senna said. I checked. You are crushing the part that does it. Enzo let him go. For a moment, the wild day disappeared from his face. He touched the back of Senna's neck like he needed to make sure his brother was real. Then boots sounded in a tunnel behind us. Carrera blew out the lantern. A blade flashed in the dark. I caught the attacker's wrist. A second hand pressed something sharp against my neck. I twisted. The attacker hit the wall. A small glass needle rolled across the floor. Senna saw it and hissed. Do not touch that. Blackroot. Enzo kicked the attacker in the stomach and pinned him. Carrera relit the lantern. The man wore plain gray clothes, but I knew the knot on his belt. Temple Disposal Unit. The people who removed problems that could not survive public records. Pagani sent you? I asked. The man smiled through bloody teeth. You will beg for the lightning when the poison reaches your heart. Senna crouched beside the needle. He's not exaggerating. Black root causes seizures first. Then the heart stops. Usually under a minute. I looked at the needle. Carrera looked at me. No, I still haven't said anything. Your face is becoming predictable. Enzo pointed at me. For once I agree with the archivist. We have learned enough today. I picked up the needle by its glass base. Senna stood. If your theory is wrong, I cannot save you. Blackroot does not leave much time. If the theory is right, then I get to spend the rest of my life explaining to healers why my patient uses death as research. So everybody wins. Senna stared at me. I already dislike you medically. The assassin laughed. Do it. Because I was tired of Pagani choosing what killed me next. So far, every improvement had come from someone else trying to murder me. That was a bad arrangement. I pressed the needle into my thigh. Carrera grabbed my shirtless shoulder. Veyron, if I come back, we learn something. And if you don't? The cold hit before I answered. My legs folded. Pain ripped through my stomach. Every muscle clenched at once. My teeth slammed together so hard, I bit through my tongue. Senna caught my head before it struck stone. Black lines spread under the skin of my arms. My heart raced, then skipped, then hammered once so hard I felt it in my throat. Then stopped. Darkness. I came back on a wet floor with Carrera's hand pressed against my chest. My first breath sprayed blood from my bitten tongue. Senna jerked back. 7 seconds, he whispered. Dead? Very. Enzo looked like he wanted to punch me and hug me at the same time. Carrera just looked furious. Then Senna pointed. Black liquid was pushing out through the pores of my arms. It gathered into beads on my skin. I sat up. The poison inside me felt like dirt floating in water. I concentrated on it. The black beads moved toward my palm. All of them. A dark puddle formed in my hand. Senna backed away. That should not be possible. Today has been difficult for that phrase. I touched the black liquid to the captured assassin's knife. The metal drank it in. The assassin stopped smiling. You wanted me to beg, I said. I put the knife against his throat. Then lowered it. Tell Pagani he should stop giving me ideas. Enzo released him. Carrera looked at me sharply. You are letting him go? He can carry a message. The assassin scrambled backward. And, I added, if he comes back, I already know what poison he likes. He ran. Senna stared after him. That was either mercy or a threat. Both. Saves time. Carrera crouched beside me. You volunteered to die. Yes. Do not sound proud. I was going for calm. You missed. Her fingers brushed the black residue from my wrist. She was close enough that I could see tiny gold flecks in her brown eyes. For half a second, neither of us moved. There are 5 hunted people under a fish market, and my brother has just watched a naked criminal weaponize poison. Could we perhaps continue the emotional staring after pants? Carrera stood immediately. I looked at Enzo. You are very focused on my clothing. Someone has to be. Senna opened a medical bag and tossed me spare trousers. For public health. Brothers, I could see it. We moved before dawn. Carrera wanted the sealed lower archive. I wanted the same thing for a simpler reason. Pagani had hidden a warning inside a statue. The storm god had told me not to die under another law. Someone knew exactly what I was becoming. I wanted their notes. The lower archive sat beneath the Eastern Temple, 2 streets from the main square. Entering it required 3 keys, 2 archivists, and a priest. Carrera had none of those. She did have a drainage route, an old service tunnel, and an expression that suggested rules had personally disappointed her. Enzo found us plainclothes and a covered cart. Senna stayed with the rescued prisoners until Enzo grabbed his shoulder. You come with us. They need a healer, and you need to stop being inside buildings Pagani can lock. Senna's jaw tightened. Enzo, I spent 4 years moving prisoners out when I could. I am not leaving my own brother behind because you found 3 people with fevers. Another healer is coming. You come. Senna looked angry. Then he looked afraid. He nodded. Enzo's hand stayed on his shoulder another second. That told me more about Enzo than any speech could have. We reached the Eastern Temple shortly before sunrise. Carrera led us through a storm drain barely wide enough for Enzo's shoulders. I hate archives, Enzo whispered. You have never been in one, Carrera said. I hate this archive specifically. The drain ended under a copper grate. Above it, blue lightning crawled across the floor. Carrera pointed. Ward. For me? For everyone. You are simply rude enough to ignore it. I pushed the grate up and climbed into the corridor. Lightning snapped around my ankles. Nothing. I reached down and pulled Carrera through while the ward danced over both of us. Her body pressed against mine for one awkward second, in the narrow opening. She looked up. I looked down. Then Senna's voice came from below. Is the divine murder floor safe? Or are you two testing something unrelated? Carrera stepped away. Safe for him. Move quickly. We crossed the ward by using me as a bridge. It was not dignified. Enzo climbed over my back, while lightning crawled across my shoulders. I want it known, he said, that I preferred the wagon. Noted. The wagon never glowed. It was on fire. Different problem. The archive door was sealed with a storm lock. Carrera expected it to take time. I put my hand on the lock. The lightning inside it ran into my palm instead. The door clicked open. Carrera stared at it. I spent 9 years learning temple seals. Was that one difficult? She entered without answering. The lower archive smelled dry and old. Black shelves lined the walls. No windows, no decorations. Only records that the temple did not want anyone to know existed. Carrera went directly to a cabinet marked with the same symbol we had seen beneath the execution stone. The nameless mark. She pulled the first ledger free. Dust burst into the air. Senna held the lantern while she read. Her face changed after the first page. There were others. Like me? I asked. Maybe. 7 cases over 2,000 years. She turned pages faster. The entries were short. A woman in the north survived a death rite under divine flame. The next page said she died 3 days later. No cause, no body record. A soldier woke after a storm execution. His file ended 2 days later with one sentence. Deceased under temple care. A 12-year-old boy survived a fate judgment. His name had been cut out of the page with a knife. These are not death records. Carrera looked at him. What do you mean? Temple healers record cause, time, and body release. Even prisoners get that. These files only say the person died. Enzo's jaw tightened. So they disappeared. Carrera flipped through all 7 cases. Every one ended the same way. One impossible return. Then silence. No second public execution. No grave. No family release. No body. They did not want anyone exposed twice, Carrera said. She found a red note added centuries after the oldest case. The writing was cramped and angry, as if whoever wrote it had been terrified of wasting space. Carrera read it twice, then once aloud. Never expose the carrier to multiple laws. First death creates refusal. Multiple laws create expansion. Contain immediately. Do not test. Nobody spoke. I remembered lightning, steel, fire, poison. 4 different ways to die, in less than a day. Pagani had not merely ignored the warning, he had done the exact thing the warning begged him not to do. Senna looked at me. If these people really returned once, the temple may have kept them alive after that. For 2,000 years? Not the same people. The files stop. I'm saying we do not know what contained meant. Enzo stared at the shelves around us. Given today's temple experience, I am not excited to learn. Carrera pulled another folder from the cabinet. This one was recent. 6 months old. Veyron Kade. My stomach went cold. The file had started before I stole the prisoner list, before my arrest, before anyone should have cared about me. Inside were my courier routes, routine temple health checks, and a note from a yearly blessing ceremony. During that ceremony, storm energy had behaved strangely around my blood. The priest who saw it marked my name for observation. Someone had been watching me for months. Why didn't they arrest you then? Enzo asked. Carrera turned to the final page. Because they were told not to test him. At the bottom sat Pagani Thorn's signature. The date was 6 months old. If subject survives first judgment, halt all further law exposure. Senna whispered. He knew. Carrera looked toward the ceiling, as if she could see Pagani through the stone. He knew exactly what not to do. My anger did not explode, it settled. That was worse. Pagani had not panicked after my resurrection, because he did not understand. He had panicked because he did. He had known repeated deaths could change me. And he kept ordering them anyway, because protecting himself mattered more than what he might create. Enzo looked at the file in my hand. What now? I closed it. Now I stopped letting him decide what happens next. A bell rang above us. Once, then twice. Carrera froze. Archive breach. The floor trembled. Senna grabbed a shelf. Dust fell from the ceiling. The weight of my own body doubled, then tripled. Carrera hit the floor. Senna gasped as if something had sat on his chest. I knew only one temple fighter in the city who could do that. Avon. His voice came through the stone ceiling. Veyron Kade. Send the others out. I will not harm them if they surrender. Enzo strained against the floor. He sounds reasonable. I distrusted. Carrera pushed herself onto one elbow. The gravity chapel is above us. If he seals it, the field will crush this whole level. I looked at the four of us. New law, new way to die. And Avon knew it. Take the ledger, I told Carrera. No. You are the one who can read it. And you are about to do the thing I told you not to do. Yes. I hate that your plans are getting easier to predict. I helped her stand, as the weight increased again. My knees bent. Pain ran through my back. Enzo, get them out through the drain. Enzo shook his head. You do realize leaving you alone has had terrible results all day. For me, or for the buildings? A crack opened in the ceiling. Buildings, he admitted. That was enough. They moved. Carrera pressed her palm against my chest before she left. My heartbeat struck her hand. Come back, she said. I looked at her hand. Apparently I'm good at that. She did not smile. Then she followed Enzo and Senna into the drain. The ceiling exploded downward. Avon dropped through the dust. His broken wrist was wrapped in gold light. His spear had been replaced by a heavy hammer. Smart. He looked at the empty tunnel behind me. Yes. Good. The gravity hit me like a mountain. My legs broke first. Both knees slammed into the stone. Avon raised the hammer. I do not want to kill you. Your body language is confusing. If you surrender, the Central Temple will judge this. Pagani no longer has authority over your execution. Pagani still has prisoners. I know. That surprised me. Avon's jaw tightened. I also know he lied about the Storm God's command, but if you keep dying under new divine forces, I do not know what you become. Neither do I. That should frighten you. It does. Avon hesitated. I smiled through the pressure crushing my ribs. Just not enough. The field doubled. My left arm snapped. My ribs broke inward. One punctured a lung. I fell face first. Avon lowered the hammer. I tried to breathe. Could not. The weight pressed my chest flat against the floor. Blood spread under my mouth. My vision narrowed. The last thing I saw was Avon looking away. Then, gravity killed me. For the 5th time that day, death took me. I came back while the field was still active. My first breath cracked the stone beneath my face. Avon turned. I pushed one hand under me. The pressure was still there. I could feel it, but it could not force me flat anymore. I stood. Slowly. The floor around my feet shattered. Avon stared. No. I rolled my neck. The field tried to force me down. I refused. Avon increased the weight again. The shelves collapsed. Stone groaned, my coat pressed tight against my skin. I took one step, then another. The strongest holy knight in the city was retreating from a man who had been dead 30 seconds earlier. For the first time, the danger in the room was me. He swung the hammer. I caught it. The impact cracked the floor under both of us. Avon's eyes widened. Gravity strengthened his blow. But gravity no longer forced me to accept what it wanted. I pulled him forward and drove my fist into his breastplate. White gold metal folded inward. Avon flew across the chapel and struck a pillar hard enough to break it. He dropped to one knee. Blood ran from his mouth. I walked toward him through the gravity field. Every step broke stone. What are you? He asked. I looked at my hands. Lightning crawled between my fingers from the broken wards. Poison could not stay inside me. Spears could not pierce me the way they had before. Gravity could no longer put me on my knees. Yesterday, I had been a temple courier with good memory and bad timing. Getting harder to answer, I said. Avon laughed once. It hurt him. Then bells began ringing above us. Not alarm bells, divine bells. Avon's face changed. He knew the pattern. 3 slow strikes. A message from the Central Temple. Carrera appeared at the drain opening behind me with Enzo and Senna. We heard it, she said. Avon pushed himself upright. The gravity field vanished. A blue flame appeared above the chapel altar. A voice spoke through it. By direct command of Veylor, Lord of Storms, Veyron Kade is not to be executed. He is to be brought alive to the Central Temple. No additional divine law is to be used against him. Everyone looked at me. I looked at Avon. That sounds specific. Avon wiped blood from his mouth. It sounds afraid. That was the first time anyone said it aloud. A god was afraid of what happened when I died. We did not celebrate in the chapel. Avon had 2 cracked ribs, a dent in his breastplate, deep enough to hold soup, and several questions about his faith. I had died under gravity less than 5 minutes earlier. Carrera had stolen enough forbidden records to hang half the temple. Enzo wanted his brother somewhere with walls that were not actively trying to kill us. So we left. He sat against the broken pillar while Senna wrapped his ribs. You know I'm technically your prisoner, I said. Avon looked at the crater my fist had left in his armor. technically, is doing a lot of work today. Senna tightened the bandage. Avon winced. Do that again and I arrest you first. Good, Senna said. Then stay still. We took the lower canal out of the eastern district and reached one of Enzo's old safe rooms before noon. It was not impressive. 1 table, 6 chairs, a stove, 2 narrow beds, a cracked window facing a tannery. After the execution square, the burning storehouse, the poison, and the gravity chapel, it looked wonderful. Enzo made stew. I had not expected that. What? He asked when he saw me watching. You drive prison wagons, smuggle people, break temple gates, and cook? Yes, adults often learn more than one thing. Senna sat at the table with a cup of water and looked exhausted enough to sleep inside it. Enzo put the largest bowl in front of him without asking. Senna pushed half of it back. Eat. I am eating. That was 3 beans. They were large beans. Enzo pushed the bowl back. Carrera sat across from me with the stolen ledger open beside her plate. Even while eating, she kept reading the same page. I reached over and closed it. She looked up slowly. You enjoy danger. You haven't eaten. I have. I looked at her untouched bread. She looked at the bread. I was preparing to. Dangerous work. Carrera tore off a piece and ate it while maintaining eye contact. I decided that counted as victory. For 10 quiet minutes, nobody died. It was the strangest part of my day. Enzo talked about a town west of the river called Marrowfield. Small place, no major temple, good soil, a mill, a healer who owed Senna money. When this is over, Enzo said, we could move people there. The ones Pagani kept hidden. Give them rooms, work, something normal. Senna smiled into his bowl. You have been planning this. Planning is a strong word. I have been worrying in an organized direction. That's planning. Then I deny it. Carrera looked at me. Apparently refusal is spreading. I almost smiled. Then someone knocked 3 times on the door. Enzo's expression changed. He stood and pulled a knife. 2 knocks followed. Then 1, his signal. Avon stood outside without his cape or helmet. He looked less like a holy statue without them. More like a tired man carrying too much armor. Pagani refused the order, he said. Nobody moved. Avon stepped inside and closed the door. The central temple sent the command directly. Pagani sealed the messenger chamber, arrested 2 priests who tried to repeat it, and took the storm crown from the vault. Carrera stood so fast her chair scraped the floor. He cannot use the crown inside the city. He can, Avon said. He should not. I had heard of the storm crown. Every child had. It was supposed to contain a fragment of Valor's first thunder. Priests used it once every 10 years to bless the city's towers. Not as a weapon. Never as a weapon. Avon looked at me. Normal lightning moves charge through your body. The crown can order charge itself. Every spark, every nerve, every beat of your heart. Senna went pale. It can stop a body without burning it. Yes. Carrera looked at me. I knew that look now. Do not even think about it. I was thinking about it. Avon continued. Pagani is calling everyone back to the execution square at sunset. He says the temple will end the heresy publicly. He wants me there, I said. He needs you there. If you disappear after surviving divine judgment, people talk. If he kills you in front of them, he controls the story again. Carrera opened the ledger. And if we show them this first, he loses the story before he attacks. That sounds like a plan where the part after show them this includes several thousand angry soldiers. Fewer, Avon said. Enzo looked hopeful. How many fewer? Maybe 200. Enzo looked at his brother. Marrowfield is becoming attractive. We kept the plan to 4 jobs. Carrera would bring the ledger and read the orders in public. Enzo would bring 2 freed prisoners, whose names appeared on Pagani's transfer list. Senna would stay near the crowd and keep people alive if the square turned violent. Avon would enter through the temple side and force the city guard to hear the central command. I would stand where Pagani could see me. That was my entire role. You are bait, Carrera said. I've been called worse. You were called a blasphemer this morning. See? She closed the ledger. If the crown kills you and you do not return, none of this matters. The room went quiet. That was the truth underneath every new death. There was still no promise I would come back. So far, I always had. That did not mean the next death would return me. I looked at Carrera. Then make sure the ledger survives me. Her jaw tightened. I hate that answer. I know. Good. She stepped closer and fixed the collar of Enzo's borrowed shirt around my neck. Her fingers brushed the skin just below my jaw. For a moment, all the noise outside disappeared. Come back anyway, she said. I'll try to maintain my reputation. Her hand stayed there 1 breath longer. Then she stepped away. At sunset, the execution square was full again. Not 3,000 this time. Word traveled fast when a dead man insulted a god. The broken statue still stood above the altar without a face. Temple workers had covered the black warning tablet with white cloth. Pagani stood beneath it, wearing the storm crown. It was smaller than I expected. A ring of black metal with 7 blue stones. Lightning floated between them, without touching his skin. His robes were clean again. I admired the commitment. He saw me enter the square, and smiled. Veyron Kade, Pagani Thorn. You have caused enough death for one day. I looked at the bloodstains, still dark between the broken benches. Interesting opening argument. Murmurs moved through the crowd. Pagani lifted one hand. This man is not blessed. He is a corruption, a thing wearing human shape. Carrera entered from the north steps. Then why did you keep records about him before today? Every head turned. Pagani's smile vanished. Carrera held up the ledger. Avon appeared at the temple gate with 40 city guards behind him. Enzo came through the crowd with the freed prisoners. Senna stayed near the wounded from the morning attack, exactly where he said he would. Pagani looked at all of them, then at me. You planned a performance. No, I said. You did. We just came back for the ending. Carrera opened the ledger. Her voice carried across the square. 6 months ago, High Priest Pagani Thorn approved an order concerning a possible carrier of the nameless condition. The order states that if such a person survives one divine execution, no second law is to be used. The crowd began to murmur louder. Pagani raised his hand. Carrera turned the ledger toward the nearest temple clerks. Your seal, your cipher, your blood mark. Avon spoke next. The central temple ordered Veyron brought alive. Pagani refused. The murmuring turned angry. Believers could ignore me. They could not easily ignore a direct order from the same god Pagani claimed to serve. Pagani's face hardened. Valor tests faith through contradiction. Enzo muttered somewhere behind me. Convenient. Pagani heard him. His eyes moved to Senna. That was a mistake. Enzo stepped between them at once. No thought, no speech, just his body in front of his brother. Pagani smiled. You see? Criminals, smugglers, thieves, a disgraced archivist, a broken knight, and a corpse that refuses burial. He touched the storm crown, against the law of a god. The stones lit. Avon shouted, Pagani, don't. Too late. Not quiet. Silent. The small electrical movements inside my body stopped at once. My heart did not slow. It stopped. My muscles did not lock. They became dead weight. My eyes remained open, while my brain lost the tiny charges that made thought possible. I fell. There was no pain. That made it terrifying. The last thing I saw was Carrera running toward me. Then there was nothing. No dream, no voice, no tunnel, just absence. For a while I did not exist in any useful sense. Then something pushed back. Not against lightning, against the command beneath it. Move. The storm said no. I refused. My heart beat once. The sound felt enormous. Then again. Air tore into my lungs. I opened my eyes. Carrera was kneeling beside me with both hands around my face. Her eyes were wet. Veyron? I inhaled. Still annoying. Her eyes closed for half a second. That was all the relief she allowed herself. Then the crown attacked again. Pagani screamed and pointed at me. Stop. The command hit. I felt every charge in my body pause, and then continue, because I told it to. I stood. Pagani's face emptied. The crown flashed brighter. Kneel. Nothing. Die. Nothing. The blue stones cracked. Something had changed. Before, I had survived lightning. Now I could feel the thing behind lightning. A rule. A pressure. Something far above the clouds was telling every spark where it could move. That command had killed me, so now it could not command me the same way again. Pagani raised both hands. The entire storm over the city folded toward the crown. Avon dragged people back. Clear the square. Lightning filled the sky from horizon to horizon. Pagani laughed. You think one trick makes you equal to heaven? For the first time, I could feel it trying to obey him. Trying. That word mattered. I reached out. Come here. The storm crown left Pagani's head. It did not fly fast. That made it worse for him. The black ring lifted slowly into the air, turned, and floated across the square into my hand. 8,000 people watched it choose. Pagani dropped to his knees. I held the crown. Lightning ran over my fingers. Not wild. Waiting. Pagani stared at me like I had just stolen the sun. That belongs to Valor. Thunder shook the city. Every charged weapon in the square came alive at once. Storm rods screamed. Temple spears filled with blue light. The towers around us opened their lightning channels. Thousands of them. And behind all of them, one vast command pressing down from the sky. Destroy him. The god of storms had stopped warning me. Fine. I closed my hand around the crown. No, the word came out quiet. The storm obeyed anyway. Every charged weapon in the square went dark. The temple soldiers stared at dead metal. Then the lightning changed direction. Not toward the crowd. Not toward Carrera. Not toward Enzo or Senna. Toward the temple. The first bolt hit the bell tower. Stone exploded outward. The second ripped through the high priest's private balcony. The third struck the covered remains of Veylor's statue. The white cloth vanished. The black warning tablet stood exposed for everyone to see. Carrera climbed onto the broken altar and read the line again.
When the Nameless One returns, do not kill him.
The storm hit the temple towers one by one. It did not touch a single civilian. Pagani crawled backward on his hands. Stop this. You had several chances to say that today. You don't understand what you are. He looked at the crowd, at Avon, at the broken temple, at the crown in my hand. His whole life had depended on people believing the gods could not be challenged. Now their lightning was circling me like a trained animal. The eighth throne was destroyed, he whispered. Carrera went still. What eighth throne? Pagani's eyes moved to her. There were not always 7. The square became silent enough to hear burning wood fall from the bell tower. Pagani's voice shook. Storm, flame, time, space, life, fate, death. 7 laws, 7 rulers, freedom. The word hit harder than I expected, not because it sounded grand, because I understood it. Lightning had told my body what to do. I had refused. Steel had told my flesh it could be pierced. I had refused. Fire had told me I had to burn. Poison had told my heart to stop. Gravity had told me to kneel. Each time, death had somehow removed the rule's final say over me. Pagani stared at the black tablet. The old records never called it resurrection. They called it refusal. A mortal who survives a law can become free of it. A mortal exposed to many laws can become... He stopped. Become what? Pagani looked at me. Fear answered before he did. A problem the gods already killed once. The sky split, with a line of pure blue light stretching from one horizon to the other. The storm crown burned cold in my hand. For one impossible moment, the square disappeared. I saw somewhere else, a hall larger than mountains, black clouds below a floor of glass. A figure sitting on a throne made from stormlight. I could not see his face, only one hand gripping the arm of the throne. A black burn mark had appeared across his palm, the same shape as the crack running through the crown in my hand. Veylor looked at it, then at me. Not for a statue, not through a priest. Directly, his voice entered my mind. You are not him. I smiled. I don't know who him is. The storm around the throne moved. You must not die again. Then, tell your priests to stop trying. Pagani screamed and lunged for the crown. Avon caught him by the back of the robe and slammed him face first into the altar. The vision broke. The square returned. Pagani spat blood onto the stone. Avon twisted his arm behind him. High Priest Pagani Thorn, Avon said, by authority of the Central Temple, you are under arrest for defying divine order, unlawful executions, and concealed imprisonment. Pagani laughed. It sounded broken. You think this ends with me? No, I said. I looked up. The storm had divided above the city. Clouds circled the square, but would not cross the open patch directly over my head. I think you were the beginning. The crowd did not cheer. After everything Pagani had done, cheering another man's fall would have felt too much like the morning. Instead, people watched. Some stared at me, some stared at the exposed warning tablet, some stared at the broken statue of the god they had believed could never be touched. Belief did not vanish in one moment, but certainty did. That was enough for one day. Senna reached us first. He checked Carrera for cuts, then Avon, then Enzo, then me. He put 2 fingers against my throat. Pulse normal. Disappointing? Deeply. I had begun preparing for something stupid. Enzo walked up behind him and put a hand on his shoulder. We're going west after this. Senna looked at him. Marrowfield? Marrowfield. Small clinic, quiet road, maybe a roof that stays where roofs belong. Senna smiled. I am willing to experiment. I looked at them and remembered what I had told myself before the execution. Survive. That had been the entire plan. Keep my head down, stay alive. Get the prisoner list out. Let someone more important deal with the rest. That man had died under lightning, then under steel, then fire, then poison, then gravity, then the command hidden inside a storm. Apparently death was bad for old habits. Carrera stood beside me, with the ledger under one arm. The Central Temple will want the crown. I looked at the cracked black ring in my hand. They can ask. The god of storms may want it. He already asked me not to die. We are developing a relationship. Carrera gave me a tired look. Please never say that about a god again. Avon dragged Pagani toward the temple gate. Before they passed us, Pagani turned his head. The other 6 will know by morning. I looked at the divided clouds. Good, he frowned. Good? I spent my whole life thinking the gods were untouchable. Lightning crawled over my fingers and into the crown. Today one of them told me to stop getting stronger. Pagani said nothing. That was the first thing he had done all day that I fully approved of. Night settled over the city slowly. Temple fires still burned in 3 towers. Healers moved through the square. Families searched for people separated in the morning panic. The dead were carried away under cloth. I helped lift stones from the benches where the storm cage had struck. Being hard to kill did not make me strong enough to lift everything. Not yet. But gravity no longer forced me down the way it once had. With the crown nearby, I could feel weight as pressure with an edge I could push against. I braced beneath a broken slab and refused to let it press me into the ground. Enzo and Avon pulled 2 trapped civilians free. That was the first time my new power saved someone without requiring my death in front of them. I liked that much better. A woman from the morning crowd found me near the broken benches. I recognized her because she had been standing beside the little girl when the storm cage started. One side of her face was cut. The child held her hand. She looked at the crown, then at me. "Are you a god?" she asked. I nearly laughed, but she was serious. "No." "A demon?" "Also no." The girl looked at the crater where Veylor's statue head had landed. "You broke the god," she said. "Only the statue." She considered that. "He broke you first." I had no answer to that. Senna came over and checked the cut on the woman's face. Enzo appeared behind him carrying blankets taken from the temple stores. He handed one to the girl, then another to an old man, without asking anyone's permission. A temple clerk protested that the blankets were sacred property. Enzo looked at the burning tower. File a complaint. The clerk looked at Pagani being dragged away. With who? Excellent question. Avon saw him doing it. The Holy Knight could have stopped him. Instead, Avon opened the temple storehouse and told the guards to bring out water, bandages, and food. I cared more about that than watching Pagani bleed. The temple had spent the morning proving its power by killing me. By night, its own people were using its supplies to repair the damage. Not everything needed lightning. Some things only needed someone to stop obeying a bad order. Carrera found me later beside the shattered statue. She had cleaned the blood from her face. Her hair had come loose from its tie and fell over both shoulders. She sat beside me on the broken base. For a while, we watched workers uncover the black tablet completely. "There are more records," she said, "of something the temples removed from history. The old catalog marks go far beyond this city." "How far?" "Every major temple." That was not a small answer. She looked at my hand. A thin thread of lightning moved between my fingers without hurting me. "Does it feel different now?" "Yes." "How?" I tried to explain it without temple language. Before, lightning could not hurt me. Now I can feel what tells lightning where to go. Carrera's eyes tightened. "The law." "Maybe. And when Pagani used the crown, that law killed you." "Yes." "So now," she did not finish. She did not need to. I looked at the broken face of Veylor's statue lying 30 feet away. Now the law doesn't get the final word. Carrera breathed out slowly. Her shoulder touched mine. "That should frighten you," she said. Avon had said the same thing. I gave her the same answer, but this time it felt different. "It does." "Good. You sound relieved. Only stupid people feel nothing when gods become afraid of them." "I died 6 times today. You may need a stronger test." She laughed once, quiet, tired, real. Then her expression changed. 6? What? 6 deaths. Lightning, spear, fire, poison, gravity, the crown. Yes. 7 gods. I looked at her. The thought had already reached me. 6 deaths, 7 divine laws. And the storm god had not warned me to avoid lightning. He had warned me not to die under another law. Carrera opened the ledger to the final page. A line sat beneath Pagani's 6-month-old signature. It was written in older ink. Much older. "If one carrier survives many laws, the 8th door opens. If the 8th door opens, the 7 thrones lose their chains." I looked toward the sky. The clouds above me were still split. Somewhere beyond them, Veylor was probably staring at the burn on his hand. I had spent 25 years believing gods wrote the rules. In one day, I learned something much more dangerous. Rules could be broken. Rules could lose. And if heaven kept trying to kill me, eventually it was going to run out of laws before I ran out of lives.